She gave him her heart. She got pregnant. When the witch found out, she cut off her hair, her hope, and banished her to the wild. The story of my Rapunzel was popularized by the Brothers Grimm in their 1812 publication, Children's and Household Tales, but its roots trace back to earlier European folk traditions. The earliest known version is Patrocinella, 1634, by Mier Giambattista Basile. In Italy, followed by the French version, Percinet, 1698, by Charlotte Rose de Caumont de la Force, which introduced the long-haired girl in the tower motif that the Grimms later adopted, though notably they sanitized it. In the Grimm version, elements such as cohabitation, pregnancy, and childbirth were removed or heavily coded to align with 19th century moral standards and Christian values. In 17th to 19th century Europe, female chastity was upheld as a cornerstone of social order. Women were confined, physically, emotionally, and socially, often under the guise of protection. In this context, the tower becomes more than a prison. It is a metaphor for imposed virtue, and the witch is not merely a villain, but a symbol of social surveillance and patriarchal control. For Jaunoir, in Iran's epic Shahnameh, a princess named Rutabe lives in a high tower. She lets down her hair to help her lover, Zalanon, climb up. But unlike Rapunzel, Rutabe is not imprisoned. She lives freely and, chooses to let Zal into her world. Zal initially refuses to use her hair out of respect, and instead climbs a rope of his own, but their connection is undeniable. They spend hours talking on the palace rooftop, and despite political obstacles and parental disapproval, they ultimately marry with the blessing of the king, giving birth to Rustam, one of the greatest heroes in Persian mythology. This tale mirrors Rapunzel's in imagery, yet contrasts sharply in message, revealing a universal myth of confinement, forbidden love, and liberation through connection, but also showing how an agency, consent, and destiny transform the same motif into a different legacy. The couple longs for a child. One day the pregnant wife craves Rapunzel, a plant growing in a neighboring witch's garden. Her husband sneaks in to steal it, but is caught. Took her son. The witch demands the unborn child as payment. When the baby girl is born, she names her Rapunzel and takes her away. At the age of 12, Rapunzel is locked in a tower deep in the forest with no door, only a window. The witch visits daily, calling out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." She climbs the golden locks to reach the window. One day, a war prince hears the witch's call and copies it. He climbs up, meets Rapunzel, and they fall in love. They begin to meet in secret, planning to escape together. The prince promises to bring silk so she can weave a ladder. One day, Rapunzel innocently asks the witch, "Why does my dress feel tighter and tighter?" With this, the witch realizes the truth. Rapunzel is pregnant. In a rage, she cuts off Rapunzel's hair and casts her out into the wilderness. The witch leaves Rapunzel's hair hanging from the tower. The prince, unaware of what's happened, climbs up, only to find the witch. She mocks him, and in despair, he leaps from the tower, blinding himself on the thorns below. Rapunzel, alone in the wild, gives birth to twins. The blind prince wanders for months until he hears her voice. When they finally reunite, her tears fall into his eyes, restoring his sight. They return to his kingdom, no longer broken. Rapunzel is no longer a girl in a tower. She is a mother, a survivor, and a woman reborn from silence and shame. It is a deeply encoded narrative about control, shame, innocence, and self-reclamation. Her parents' desperation led to a cruel bargain. The witch's protection was surveillance. Her curiosity brought love and punishment. But her voice, her tears, her resilience led to liberation. Even today, many live in metaphorical towers, constrained by tradition, fear, family, or silence. Rapunzel's question, Why is my dress tighter? Is a child's innocent confusion, but to society it was proof of moral failure. Yet her story doesn't end with punishment. It ends with recovery, choice, and light. Once upon a minute. In the next tale, a town that broke its promise, a melody that no one could resist, and a man who led their children away. The untold story of the Pied Piper. Subscribe and turn on notifications.